Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second session of our Civilizational Change series. And looking forward to it, sort of. Um, my life is just really strange. And one of the strange aspects of it is I do an awful lot of writing and then I forget what I've written. And about half an hour ago, when I was putting notes together and like what we're going to do tonight, etc. Remember that I wrote an entire book on this subject, and it's called The Book of the Common Faith. I haven't published it yet because it keeps evolving for me. And but I have some notes from that would take us about 3 or 4 hours to get through. So we're not going to do that tonight, but I will show you an interesting graphic from it. Um, I want to walk through um, an overview of what we're going to do tonight. And I want to do it to keep us inside of um, uh, our time frame and also our subject frame. This is a very, very big subject, and so we could get out of whack with this world very quickly. Um, so my outline right now. Um, what do we mean by deep? As this is that we talked about deep spirituality. The next couple of weeks we'll be talking about deep identity, deep culture. Um, uh, and I think I can give you a graphic on this. Um, whoops, I can't give you a graphic on this. I can give you a semi-graphic on this. Um, we've gone through our overview last week, and now we're in our deep spirituality, life beyond religion. Um, then the week after this is deep identity, life beyond our ego. 20th of January will be deep culture beyond our separations. Um, then the deep relationships beyond lack and greed. And by deep relationships, I'm meaning our deep relationships that we rely on for food, sustenance, having a roof over our heads, etc. We call that stuff economics, and I want us to start thinking about it really, really differently. Um, then the last one will be deep governance. How do we get beyond politics as we know it right now? And I'm thinking that we may need an extra session to tie it all together. But when we get toward the middle, we'll see whether we need something that's going to tie it together or not. Um, so so tonight, what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to look at is what do we mean by deep? I've got some ideas around that, and we're going to talk about that. Um, the uh, we need we're going to tease apart concepts that we have scrunched together um, over the course of the last few thousand years. So that we don't, what we think that these terms are synonymous and they are not. And we need to be able to talk about them, think about them, and actually act on them in a completely separate way. And these terms are things like spirituality, religion, our way of life, and be able to see how we can um, blend them. Um, then we're going to talk about the poison pill, but just a little bit because we're going to end our evening. What's the poison pill? Well, you'll find out about an hour from now. Um, then we're going to end the night on what is the spirituality of the 21st century. Um, um, what is the spirituality that we need? What is the spirituality that won't work, that we know won't work? And then what is the spirituality that we're being called to? And that's where I've got a possible chart for you to take a look at. Okay. Um, so that was our overview. I've got, I want to have a way of us introducing ourselves to each other, but given the fact that that we on the call right now spend an awful lot of time together, I don't think we need to do that. But we're going to have people who have not spent a lot of time with us, or different levels of time with different ones of us. And so I'm probably going to ask you to record a 5-minute clip where you answer some questions. And I'll have the questions for you, and you can answer them in the in the privacy of your own home that will then broadcast to the rest of the world. Um, and if it's 2 minutes, if I give you 2 minutes, it's gonna be a really hard 2 minutes. If it's 5 minutes, I'll give you 5 minutes. It's gonna be a hard 5 minutes. And by hard, I had a professor who said that he wanted papers that were 8 pages and no more, and it had to have a certain, you know, spacing, double space or whatever. And he'd take your paper, and if it was 10 pages, he'd take the last 2 pages, tear it off, and throw it away. And if after he did that just once to someone, everybody else gets the message. So yeah, so I've got a timer, and I can cut your video, and if it's in the middle of a word, then everybody else will get the message. Um, so I am really amazed at how quickly I've gone through the introduction, and allow me to take a moment to pat myself on the back. We are going to take a break, and that break is going to be dictated in part by the clock and in part by my bladder. I just finished a really good cup of coffee, and I'm waiting. Our first section is this idea of uncoupling our spirituality and all of the other stuff that gets confused with our spirituality. I was uh, at my regular coffee house some years ago. Um, Back doing what I did at the coffee house an awful lot was eavesdropping on other people's conversations. Um, And there are two people at a table very near me. One was white, Anglo, very straight looking. I would say um, if you saw him at an evangelical rally, you'd say that guy really fit in. He had the haircut, he had the suit, he had the look, he had the whole 9 yards. The other guy was Asian, and he had the kind of wispy beard and mustache that you see when you see pictures of Taoist masters when they have the wispy beard and mustache. He had a long ponytail tied up with whatever you tie your ponytail up with. I don't spend a lot of time on my ponytail, so I don't know the words for it. Um, and he had on one of the monk, not monk's robes, but the I guess kung fu type outfit. And um, to boil the conversation down, the straight white guy was saying to him that he needed to look more Christian. And he was saying, I do look more Christian, and I look more Christian than you. And the guy said, um, well, you should cut your hair. This is, you got long hair. He says, didn't Jesus have long hair? And the guy keeps on talking. He says, "Oh, well, then, maybe you should shave." He said, "Didn't Jesus have a beard?" And there was this really interesting challenge, and the challenge was um, with a conception of um, Christianity. And what the white guy was saying was doing was talking about Christianity is culture, and you're not following the culture. And what Asian guy was saying was Christianity is culture, and I'm following Christianity from my culture, not your culture. And my point of view, I could have interrupted and say, yeah, both of you are wrong. But then when you don't tease these things apart, you wind up this with this kind of confused conflation. It makes an interesting coffee house conversation, but it's also the grounds on which we've killed tens of thousands of people around the world on various levels of my religion is better than your religion. And they're not even talking about religion, they're talking about culture. And that's what I want us to be able to tease apart tonight. Before we get there, we need to look at this term of deep. Um, this is a term that I've been working with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming to understand it better, and I'd like to share with you. Um, what I mean by deep is foundational, um, rooted, that this is the essence of what we're doing, the literally the bare essence. What do we mean by these things? Um, on a psychological level, deep means the parts of your being that you acquired before you acquired the capacity for rational thought. Now, what the heck do I mean by that? Um, Child psychologists say that we acquire the capacity for rational, concrete, and abstract thought somewhere around 7 or 8 or 9 years old. But by 7 or 8 or 9 years old, you've got large parts of yourself, of your being, already practiced, not thought out at all. You're practicing it simply by mimicking the adults that have been around you. Um, Your deep language is the language you learn from 4 or 5 months old until the time you could speak relatively clearly. Um, your deep gender is the gender that you practiced until you got 7 or 8 years old. Um, your deep, uh, well, your deep religion, or the parts of your religion that you practiced from 0 to 7 years old, or the parts of your religion that you did not practice between 0 and 7 years old. All of that stuff, all of the those aspects of your being, you never thought about. You lacked the capacity to think about. One of the things I'm noticing now, because uh, people are very verbal with their children, and their children are growing, and the children are growing up with way expanded vocabularies and are able to use words in particular ways. And what I'm finding is that the kids don't know what they're talking about. They know how to use the words just enough to say what kids say when they're 4 or 5 years old. I want my way. So they can cover that up with, um, you know, I shouldn't have to stay up. I shouldn't have to go to bed. I should stay up late tonight. Child psychologist said, they could say anything, but what they are really saying is, I want my way. And so the you don't think about these deep aspects of your life until there's somebody who comes into your life who's practicing different deep aspects, and you don't know how to act. You don't know how to fit in. Um, I was watching a video once, and this was on a documentary done on the Middle East, done, you know, 4 or 5 crises ago. Okay, and so the documentary was being shot in Jerusalem, old Jerusalem, and the cameraman was focused on this adult speaker, but there were two kids that were also in the shot. One of the kids was Israeli, the other kid was Palestinian. They did not share a common language. They were eyeballing each other. They were, I'd say, I think 7 or 8 years old. The way 7 or 8 year old boys can eyeball each other. And I'm sorry, by eyeballing, what I mean is staring at each other in a challenging way. Um, that stare could have gone in a lot of different directions. But so as these adults are talking on camera, one of the kids belches toward the other, like a forced belch. And he swallows some air, and then the air comes back. The other kid belches back at him. And so the first kid belches louder. And they have this belch fight going on, which was really like cool. It's like I forgot what the adults were talking about, but these kids figured out with no common language how to start the process of a common language with belching. Um, and I was thinking, if we left the kids alone, just leave them alone, they will figure out how to solve the Middle Eastern crisis. And it may take a lot of belching or farting or teasing each other or running around in circles or whatever, but they'll figure it out. Now, all of that stuff that keeps them from connecting is part of their deep identity. All of the stuff that keeps them from connecting, they cannot talk about. They have no capacity to talk about it. So all of the folks who grew up in that environment and they are trying to um, use all sorts of adult language to do peace accords and all this other, they're missing the point completely. The bottom line is that if you don't address the deep identity issues, you can't begin to do any kind of peace process, any kind of let's get ourselves together process. Um, you can't, and if you don't, especially if you don't have a shared um, peace process, you don't have a shared deep identity. Um, you can make things a lot worse by trying to make them better. Um, so one of the things that I do, and we're not in a practice mode now, but if we do a practice session or sessions, we'll practice how to get people into their deep identity modes without ruffling feathers, or without ruffling feathers we can identify. Um, there's a lot of feathers out there nowadays. Um, uh, without um, making anyone right or wrong, without making anyone a favored group or a disfavored group. And you can do it, but it takes some practice doing it. And the practicing is difficult because you have deep identity. The only people well, actually, I don't know any people on the planet that don't have that deep identity. Um, the people who think that they don't, the people who pretend that they don't, are the ones who have the roughest time getting over it and getting through it. In um, mixed situations, in possible conflict situations, I have to go into the conflict stating what my deep identity is. So that and I say, if anybody sees me acting out of my deep identity, which means I'm trying to make myself right and you wrong, um, I will, yeah, I'll stop, recenter, and try to get that um, try to get that back under my control. I was doing consulting work with a group at Brighton Bush Hot Springs. And Brighton Bush Hot Springs is beautiful, was, unfortunately, it burned a couple of years ago. Was a beautiful, it will be a beautiful again. Um, um, Resort facility in the mountains, in the Oregon mountains. And it's a hot springs, and at the hot springs pools, clothing is optional. You can wear swimsuit if you want to. Most people choose not to. I've been hanging out at Brighton Bush for 17, 18 years or so. Um, I was doing a workshop with them, and when you are in the lodge area, it's commonly understood you've got to have clothes on. Um, I've got a group coming in a circle and 30 or so people, and all of us are clothed. And right when I was about to start, one guy walks in and is completely naked and sits down in the lotus position directly opposite me. And so I have an internal reaction. And I said, "Look, we'll go around the room and give our names." And when we got to him, I said, excuse me, but you're going to have to put some clothes on. And he says, no, I don't. He says, this is a closed camp. Like this is the public was not allowed in because I was doing my workshop. And when the public is not allowed in, I can be naked anywhere in the camp I want. And the other 30 people in the room said, yeah, number one, he can be, and number two, he's always naked, and we live with it. Well, I had an issue, and my issue was, oh, no, you don't. You're going to put some clothes on your butt because I don't want to see your junk hanging out. And and I'm the boss. I'm the one that's running this show. Okay, so I wanted to immediately get into you're wrong and I've got power. This is very typical behavior when you've got deep identity going on. You just want to make somebody wrong and you want to exert yourself. And because I'm smart enough to see my own behavior, I said, okay, I'm triggered right now. Since everybody says he is right, I have to process my trigger. And I'm going to process it out loud so you can all see the process. Okay. And I did. And um and everybody appreciated the fact of, me saying, you know, I am triggered because I grew up in a society when from 0 to 7 years old, you didn't walk around in public around other people naked. You know, we didn't do around our own family, and so um, this is taking me back to my childhood. But I walked through that process, which was very good for the group. And what was even better for the group is that the guy said, um, yeah, yes, I do enjoy being naked, and we grew up in a family where we were naked most of the time. Welcome to the 60s. Um, but he said, I also do this to get a reaction out of outsiders. I knew you were an outsider. I purposely came in I came in as the last person in the room. I came in and I had somebody save this seat for me, so I would be sitting directly opposite from you to get a rise out of you. And that's my deep identity of wanting to be the center of attention. So he goes, blah, 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 blah. And everyone, okay, so this is what deep identity actually looks like when it comes to the issue of identity. Um, and so our ability to take that step back is uh, I think very important. Um, so in terms of deep spirituality, it means having the ability to to practice some level of spirituality, some level of religion, some level of transcendence before you can think about it. Um, in societies like most of the societies that I encounter outside of the United States, people know exactly what I'm talking about because if you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, etc., from the time you are 2 or 3 years old, you are being carted off to the church, the covil, the temple, the mosque, the synagogue. And when you go there, you are dressed in a robe, in kafaya, in a chaldor, in a you act. You're going to the place where you act different, and you cannot apply rational processes to why you act different. You don't have the capacity to do that. You just act different. Um, if you are raised in a multicultural, multi-religious, interreligious community, you'll notice on certain days you wear these strange clothes, and then your neighbors are not wearing those clothes. Or then there's another day when they wear the strange clothes and they start saying strange words and they start doing all this other stuff. And all of this starts to define who you are. All of this starts to define your beingness. Um, and and also starts to define those who are other to you, who are not doing what you're doing. So by the time you get to be a teenager, you've got a whole set of behaviors and beliefs, and you're doing these things, and you know you're going to heaven or paradise or Valhalla or wherever you think you're going. And you know everybody who's not doing what you're doing is going to hell. Um, and you never really thought about it. Um, you can actually go to college and you can have lots and lots of words around what you think, and you still haven't thought about it. You've refined this this complex of of things that lie at your gut, but you haven't really examined it or thought about it. Our process is to help people to do that, to help people to uh, refine what's here at that gut level, starting with your gut level, starting with your own gut level, not working on somebody else. And um, I'm sorry, not working on somebody else first. I work on myself out loud in public to show that it's okay to do this. You're not going to implode. You're not going to immediately go to hell. God will not send the lightning bolt down to you to fry you. Um, it's interesting. I just saw a short video on YouTube today on lightning bolts just barely missing people. And this is the stuff that, like I said, if you don't have religion when that happens and you have it directly afterwards, um, and so um, so what we're going to do and start doing tonight is teasing apart these various segments. Um, Spirituality and what that means. Now, we know we can spend 6 weeks just on that one word, and we're not. We may spend the next 6 minutes, and that's going to be enough for the next 6 weeks. Religion And how, again, these are so combined. It's really hard for us to to separate them. But these are not Siamese twins. These are separable. And uh, people around the world are doing that. When you hear somebody say, "I'm spiritual but not religious," they've done it. Now, they still may not know what either one of these things mean, but they know that this bundle over here feels really good, and this bundle over here feels kind of yucky. Um, Add to that what I would call way of life. And by way of life are the things that you do without a reference to, I'm doing this because my religion calls upon me to do this. I'm doing this because I heard a voice in the night say, go do this. But I'm doing this because I feel like this is the right thing to do. This is the thing that brings me joy. Um, when we say in our inclusivity mantra, may all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy. These three elements, uh, wellness, security, and happiness, are the things that every being, I mean, being, not just human being, wants and desires. They may confuse that stuff. For example, I've seen kids who grow up believing that um, you know, torturing animals or torturing their siblings is okay. It's fun. That's the stuff that makes me happy. I think that you have to um, finesse this a bit. Okay, I think I would say to them, it probably doesn't make you happy. Um, and um, and on the other hand, maybe a little bit of that does. I look at videos of young goats butting each other. It's like doesn't look like fun to me, but they really enjoy it. Or cats, kittens, you know, getting mouthfuls of fur from their siblings. It's like, yep, that's what you do for a while. Um, so your spirituality is different from your religion. Your religion is different from your way of life. Your spirituality, religion, and way of life are different from your culture. Um, when you see festivals, and I don't know how many festivals are like this in Christianity, but you see festivals in Buddhism, in a lot of the other, in Islam, and some of the other religions, where the people come together and they come together with their cultures, so that um, you can see that this group is dressed the way Indonesians are dressed, or this group is dressed the way that, you know, people from Djibouti dress. Or one of the largest religious gatherings in the world, which is the uh, the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. Everybody has to wear exactly the same thing. You get the same two pieces of clothing, and this way you do away with culture because you can't dress differently than this culture that you put on for these days, and that's it. And if you don't want to wear that, then don't go. Um, um, and I'm going to add another level here. Okay, so we've got spirituality, religion, way of life, culture, and then the rules. And all along, you're talking about rules. I'm talking about ways of governing your own and the behavior of others. But when you've got the thou shalts and the thou shalt nots, that can form its own culture. And that is something that is that we address, and we don't even address the why of it. Um, it's easy to swallow when it's your basic behavior, it's your deep behavior. Again, by deep, I mean foundational, rooted behavior. It's harder when it's somebody else's foundational or rooted behavior. Um, I think I told you I ran into this when I was in New Zealand, and I was talking with um, people of the Maori culture, a Maori way of life, okay, which is a complete way of life. And I referred to them as indigenous people. Um, and they were very quick to correct me and say, we are not indigenous to New Zealand. There were people on this island before we got here, and we ate them. And I went, you did what? And they were like, well, it's it's what we did, when when Europeans, Christians came to this country and their first interactions, the first Thanksgiving, we sat down and we broke bread together and we feasted each other and we honored each other. And in New Zealand, we folks did it differently. They ate the inhabitants. And so eating other people is about as deep as your deep identity can go. Um, um, you, you'll notice in none of the Ten Commandments does it say, "Thou shalt not eat your neighbor." That's actually, I mean, it's just a complete assumption. You don't eat people. It's just like of all the things you do, it's so you can debate whether you eat meat or not, but you don't eat your neighbor's meat, you know. So so this is so right there, face to face, I'm looking at this guy who told me that his great great grandfathers ate the neighbors. Um and the uh I had to process on the fly. And it took a lot of processing because even as I'm saying it now, the notion of um, killing, conquering, and then barbecuing your neighbors is not done. Jenna said, will you be giving us guidance on how to ferret out deep identity? The answer is no. But it can be yes. I um, uh, it's a 3 or 4 session presentation, and we don't have the time for that inside this box. But if we're asking for it, I can open up that box and we can definitely do it. We definitely should be doing it at some point in time, and it could be the next thing we do. Um, Janice also asking whether or not what I'm talking about in terms of this deep identity is an imprint. It is, but I don't like using that term because it makes it very mechanical. Um, when you learned a language, you learned um, because you mimicked the people who are around you. And when you mimicked them, if you got it right, they went, oh, and when you got it wrong, they ignored you. And when you got tired of being ignored, you got it right more often. And I am watching that happening. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I watch a lot of cat videos. I decided to tell you I'm not being entertained by this. I'm doing research. There's a difference. Um, and pe cats are starting to mimic human speech, and the humans are reacting to them um, the way that you react to children when your children get it right. They go, "Oh my goodness, they said hello," and these cats are actually saying this one says hello and waves at the same time, says hello. And I'm like, oh, I heard hello. um, and uh, s- This actually pushes us further down the road in terms of holonic consciousness. I just want to make that as a marker, but I don't want to talk about that because we got other fish to fry tonight. Um, um, so Jenna also says, um, and talking about may all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy. That two other aspects that people want or need to be loved and to be heard and understood. Um, First of all, we're not talking about people, we're talking about all beings. And this notion of being loved may be more wiggly than understanding one's religion.
However,
Mhm.
in terms of deep identity, are we making assumptions about all other life forms having a deep identity?
Um, okay, hang on. Remember, we're actually going to do deep identity next week. I'm going to ask you to hang on to that. Um, I don't think that um, um, when I ask for all beings to be well, I think that every being, all the way from paramecia, um, all the way up through um, higher order humans, have a sense of what wellness is. Paramecium can move toward nutrition, can move away from painful stimuli. They all have a sense of what would cause a paramecium to be at rest as opposed to agitated and trying to get out of a fearful environment. The other stuff I think is stuff, and I think that that's the stuff that we have to talk about. So I don't necessarily see that. Um, um, okay, so Esther said, and Esther has her hand up too. Esther said you have to kill like in order to eat somebody, you got to kill them first. Okay, but does that mean that if someone does kill someone, you're going to munch on the rump roast?
Well, I don't think it's all or nothing.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So understand this. If Esther
not all people who
do
kill other
do a
people eat
barbecue,
them.
she check the check the neighbors. Okay, stop. We're going to be more serious here. Uh,
Okay.
so go ahead. You got the floor now.
Okay. Well, when you said we're going to talk about deep identity next week,
Mhm.
but we're talking about deep spirituality now, I'm I think that they're really connected a lot. I identity, I suppose, is what I believe about myself.
Mhm.
Like I believe I'm a mom, I believe my grandmother, that sort of thing. And maybe what I like and don't like. But spirituality and I really think that it's impossible to be spiritual without being religious, to tell you the truth. I think that religion has gotten a bad name by self-righteous individuals who want to promote their their particular brand of religion. And I think that the biggest problem that we've had is that once religions become institutionalized, then people are not really identifying with their religion anymore. They're identifying with the culture that, as you were putting it there, institutionalized religion definitely makes a kind of a us and them culture. Whereas true religion, personal religion, is, how I am with the universe, how I am with the world. What do I believe is right, and how well am I acting it? It involves a lot more self-reflection.
Right. I'm going to hit the pause button for a second because we're going to get further into that question in the next hour. Okay. And your position may not change one bit, but I want to get into that as a whole because I haven't introduced it as a whole. The issue of what is spirituality, what is religion as it's different from spirituality, what is culture as it's different from religion and different from spirituality, etc. So let me get to that in a bit. Something that Jenna said, um, that two aspects that all people need to be loved and to be heard and understood. Now, if we were expanding that to all beings, do all beings have the desire and capacity to love and the whatever we would mean by love? And that's a topic that um, not covered in these 6 sessions here. Um, and to be heard, what would that mean in that particular context? Um, and I want to think about that some more because my first thought was, I don't know that other beings, other non-human beings, have that desire for love and that desire for to be understood. And I'm spending a lot more time looking at beings and their interactions with humans, and they really, really enjoy being stroked, petted, cuddled, caressed, acknowledged as a living being and not just as food. Now, how do you do that in the context of your food? And I don't mean that just in terms of killing an animal, but harvesting a tomato. I had a lot of trouble with that when I first, I, when I the first time I grew something. The idea that I was going to, put these tomatoes in a stew is like, but they're my children. It's like, yeah, and drop them in. Um, so I'm going to think about this some more, and we may come back to it.
And
But
I may
now,
may I add one aspect? I think
yes.
for me, I have a question about can we assume that all other life forms have a need to be happy? Security, I understand. Wellness, I understand. But personally, it's a stretch for me to assume that all life forms have a sense of happy
Mhm.
because we're still not at a point where we're really communicating with every species to have a better understanding.
Well, no, I think that there are lots and lots of species that I don't think that there's even a question, but that they have a sense of satisfaction, a sense of completeness. I can give you a lot of examples of that. Oh, that's right. You were not in movie night. I was thinking about in Baraka, the number of animals that, like the baboons that were sitting in the hot tub. Um, that was about as cooled out as I could. I mean, this is about if you want to see an example of a meditative state, that baboon was like in the middle of it, and I would even say that they had a sense of spirituality, of their spiritual connection. And then from the holonic perspective, yes, you can know their internal state. You can sit in their internal state. They can sit in your internal state. There's a guy, did I put any of this in the goodie box? There's a guy who plays piano, plays guitar, and sings to animals, and just looks at their reaction. And they, first of all, freak out like, I've not heard these sounds come out of a human before. Secondly, they get into it, especially elephants, especially giraffes. He actually plays the music up at a second story level so they can hear
Mhm.
it right. Um, even rhinoceros. If you've never seen a chilled out rhinoceros before until you see okay, so I'm going to find the video. Um, video of music and animals. Um, I know I've got it. I just have to get out. Okay. I am moving right along to um first I want to talk about the poison pill. Um, and what I mean by that is every religion has a clause in it. Every religion that I know of, and y'all probably correct me in about 2 seconds, but every religion that I know of has a clause in it somewhere that says this is the right way to see things. Every religion that I know of has a clause that says if you don't see things this way, then you're not looking right. Every religion that I know of um, has a clause that says if people say something different from what I'm saying here, they're wrong. Now, I think that Some of that is actually useful, and some of that is actually beneficial. What I mean by that is every being or set of beings, even ones that are in deep, even ones that are in deep holonic resonance, have some sense of in-group, out-group.
Mhm.
In-group is me and mine. Out-group is the other. That in when you are a being limited by space and time, you have a way of identifying your space and identifying your time. Um, if we didn't, if we didn't, we live in a very, very, very different world. Um, but limiting ourselves in space and time does not necessarily mean exclusion, especially exclusion in the sense of um, you're wrong, you're bad, you're evil, and I am commanded by God to chop your head off. And uh, our way of being in the world um, is our way of being in the world is predicated by that. So I think that I would like to exchange the poison pill for, let's call it a force field barrier, where we do maintain our sense of identity. And that identity is not necessarily limiting. Okay. Um, and this is kind of personal to me because I've got lots of friends and lots of family that consciously limits themselves. Um, I'm not going to go over there. I'm not going to talk to those people. I'm not going to interact with these folks over here. And I think that when we start looking at how do we function in the 21st century, we have to start thinking of ourselves as interchangeable units. Um, our ancestors saw our differences as barriers. Um, and I'm talking about things like skin color, gender, language, even language. Like you don't talk to those people. You don't need to know their language because you shouldn't be talking to them. I'd forgotten I had written a book. I have a manuscript on the common faith, and I pull it off the shelf and work on it every once in a while, and then put it back on the shelf. And at some point in time, I'm going to actually get it finished, and maybe there'll be someone will ask for the finish. What does a common faith look like? So this is an outline of the common faith, and um, I I don't have um, some of my current language in here, and so I'm going to ad lib as I go along here. So let me share this with you. So this, let me put this over here. Okay, whoops. Block what I'm supposed to be reading right here. That's not really good. Okay, there we go. Um, so um, in God 1.0, I would call that the keeper way of life, the indigenous way of life, the earth-centered way of life. In God 2.0, what I call the sky gods, God is, you make a reference to God as being up there. And the reason you reference that up there is that this is just a place you can't get to. Okay. Um, and it could be um, um, multi-religious, like the gods of Olympus. It could be monotheistic, where Yahweh is up there. Um, and then what I call God 2.5, this is sky gods in books. Somebody goes somewhere and they come back with a book. And books at one point in time were really seen as magical devices, as spiritual devices. If you could read, you were on a whole different level than someone who couldn't. So 2.0 Sky Gods, 2.5 is Sky Gods in books, and God 3.0 is science as God. And this gets tricky because there's science, and then there is what one of my mentors, Houston Smith, used to call scientism. That's the faith and belief in science, which is different from practicing science. And we'll go through that in a minute. And then God 4.0, and I think I'm not the first person who said that. It may have been Neil Donald Walsh who talked about God 4.0. Um, and so the age of innocence, the age of religion, the age of reason, and the age of awakening. Um, the So let's look at these characteristics, and they go on for a while. So let me go through this relatively quickly. And I can give you this outline only if you promise and swear in blood that you recognize that this is old. Okay. And I need to, um, this is the motion for spiffing up something. So God 1.0, the focus is all life is conscious and all life is sacred. Everything is alive. And that's how keepers act. Now, you look over here at God 4.0 and you see we're going back there. But life is seen as, when I capitalize it, life is seen as a complex web that all beings fit into. So all life is sacred and conscious. Everything is alive. You can talk to all beings. Now, when you get to 2.0, the sky gods, and then 2.4, the 2.5, the sky gods in books, uh, religion is seen as sacred. And from that point, sacredness is pulled away from all living beings, and only certain living beings are sacred, and much of life is not sacred anymore. And then in sky gods in uh, the sky gods in books, you could actually say books and buildings. This building here, because it's been consecrated to God, this building is sacred, but the building across the street is not. Um, and then the focus is this, and science as God, man is a primary aspect of the universe, and therefore nothing is sacred. Everything is subject to my experimentation, review, and demeaning. Um, let's keep going faster, Sharif. So looking at this in terms of how you communicate with God, you communicate with God through all beings. And the same thing is true if you are practicing from a holonic reality. In the sky gods, only priests can communicate with a non-present God. Gods are above and distant from us. They're on mountains, they're in the sky, they're in outer space, but they're not right here. Um, and the refinement of that, the priests get messages from God via a book. Um, this was very prevalent back in the days when the priests were the only ones that could read. Um, So science says we can manipulate matter, therefore we can understand the laws of the physical universe, and that's all that God is anyway. So we don't need God anymore. Um, so from the point of view of the keepers, everything has intelligence, wisdom, and meaning, has volition and permission. Those are two very big concepts, and I'm gonna keep going right by them. Again, same thing is true with regard to um, uh, the holonic point of view. Everything is intelligent, wisdom and meaning, has volition and permission. All beings have soul, and that soul is not better or more connected than other beings. Okay. Um, um, that gets tricky, but we'll talk about that later. Again, from the sky god position, only the priests have wisdom. Um, the priest and the religion is infallible. This is a really important point. Um, when the for roughly 2,000 years, the Catholic Church says whatever the Pope says is the word of God and cannot be disputed. And therefore, um, when Giordano Bruno, Tycho Brahe, and Galileo Galilei said that the earth is revolving around the sun, um, they were subject to death. Um, the Pope turned Giordano Bruno into papal barbecue and didn't even eat him. What um, all that barbecue going to waste. Let me stop playing. Um, and then there's a shift when you went to the sky gods and books. Only the books have wisdom. The priests are interpreting these books, and their interpretation is infallible. Scientists say, scientism says, only certain humans have intelligence, and there's no such thing as a soul. They can't find it inside your body, and therefore doesn't exist. I'm going to skip some of this. Um, ah, the world is enchanted, which is the point of view of the keepers. The menders, the holonic folks, the universe is both enchanted and it's understandable. And there's a term coming about nowadays talking about the re-enchanting of the world, that that enchant through our scientific point of view, we took the magic out of the world, and some of us are trying to bring it back in. But from the science point of view, the universe is a clock. And just like you can take a clock apart, we can take the universe apart. We can understand it from the fixed laws of the universe, and that's the only thing that's important. Um, this notion that rituals are important. Um, from our point of view, from the holonic point of view, rituals are powerful, but science is also powerful. And if you see these two in conflict between science and religion, you need to resolve the conflict because they're not in conflict. Okay. Um, uh, okay, so here is at the bottom line in the um, keeper point of view, God is everywhere in all things and in all beings. From the Mender holonic point of view, God is in all life and all life processes. Um, from the sky God point of view, God is somewhere over there or out there, not inside of me or not inside of anybody else. Or from the sky gods and books point of view, God is in certain books and in certain buildings. Remember the poison pill. If God is in my building, God can't be in your building. Okay. And I can call myself a God-fearing person and burn your building down. In fact, I have to burn your building down if I am really believing in my book and my building. And um, and then from the so-called scientific point of view, God is irrelevant. If you choose to believe it, okay. If you choose not to believe it, okay. But God is largely irrelevant, and we have the power or powers of God now in our world. Okay, that's a pretty big mouthful. Um, as I say in both in the text writing and also in the here in this chart, we're moving forward by moving back into the way the keepers saw the world. But from the point of view of recognizing um, that we also can see the world from this let's call it an enhanced keeper construct. When I say we're going back to the way indigenous people see the world, I'm not talking about, going back to, me having to run down an antelope for dinner. Um, I could do that if I have to, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is having a value system that's very, very much in keeping with the keepers. Okay, that was a whole lot. Let me first of all see what we wrote in the chat box here. Um, Esther's asking, and this is about the earlier part of what we're talking about, is gratitude a form of love? I think it is. When I say that I'm being grateful to or for something, I'm saying I love this. Um, I can't think of um, um, people, events, things, or processes where I'm not saying that. Um, I may not say that as uh, it's not, that's not a concept that I want to water down because I've not used it very much. I would like to reserve that for higher level things, but I had a really good dinner last night. It was like it's leftovers, but it just set well. And as I'm eating it, I'm saying thank you. And there is a whole panoply of beings that I'm thanking, including me as the chief cook here. Um, yeah, with and Angie saying just tell them thank you. That is what we have to do. Um,
Referencing the tomatoes, and the vegetables that you pick, as you're picking them.
mhm.
You were saying that you felt bad about eating them, but 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 if you thank them as you pick them, then it's just like what the indigenous people do when they thank the animals before they take them as food. So
Well,
same with the vegetables.
I really liked that section in the movie. I can stop this share, I think, and I can go back to it if we want to say something about this. And I can remove my spotlight too. Um, I really liked the book. I mean the movie Avatar, and I've heard good things about Avatar 3. Heard very bad things about Avatar 2. So I think I'm going to hope I can just skip that one. But when they were taking the beings for their food, they had a particular prayer they would say, and they would welcome the being into their family, into the family of the Nabi. And yeah, that's I think um, but I'm part of an interesting progression. I would um, kill without thinking, and I would kill out of anger when I was growing up. Um, in Camden, rats and roaches are your competitors, and they take food away from you. And we cut down on the competitors, cut down on the competition. And I never, I've gotten to the point that I can tolerate rats. I don't even, I'm not around any roaches, which is a really good thing because I don't know if I'm working on tolerating all beings here, but I want to tolerate them from some distance, like some continent that they may, or just as long as they don't cross the Rocky Mountains. Um,
Don't ever go to Hawaii.
oh, don't ever go to South Carolina. Don't ever go to Florida. Oh my God. I'll compare roaches with you any day. So, um, okay, so Jenna says God 5.0, government as God. Um, no, I don't. Um, I was about to say something and now I'm dragging it right back. Uh,
This I've been seeing in articles.
mhm.
I don't know that I've saved them or where I saved them, but I've seen this a number of times in like the multiple occasions, is what I'm saying, over the last 6 to 8 months or so.
But you're not
And
talking about government, you're talking about Trump.
they're not calling it out that way. They're generalizing it more than that. That there's there seems to be two things going on: less people um, practicing religion, and yet some of the younger generations are coming back in. But if I think from the standpoint of where are things coming from and positioning government as people conceiving it as some type of higher entity, because that's where things come from.
Well, I
I
mean,
haven't seen it well articulated. All I'm saying is I've been seeing articles along these lines.
um, I have been seeing uh, basically MAGA, Make America Great Again, conflating Trump with just about everything, and which is um, well, he's doing his job. Let me not look at him while he's doing the job. Um, um, something I haven't. I'm not even going to say that. I'll keep that one to myself. Um, but no, you may see people saying that. There are people at one point in time that were trying to say that the founders of our society were divinely ordered or divinely so that what they put together is actually a spiritual statement. And all of them said, hell no, we don't do that, and we're not doing that. That I mean, they were very adequate. The Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, all of the ones that were writing said, nope, we are people and we are coming together and we're putting something together that's flawed, but best we can do right now. Esther said, people who recognize the value of each other can practice a government that treats all people fairly. Um, no evidence of that. This is what I'm calling for in terms of a holonic practice that we
Exactly.
actually can see and be with each other. And once we can see and be with each other, we can start practicing governance. And I'm trying to not use the word government because that's an establishment. But
Mm.
I can give you scores of references, maybe 100 references where people, especially across species, take care of each other in ways that um, are just amazing. The most recent ones were a video of this guy who says this is a security camera inside of a vet's office in like India, and this um, dog wanders into the office and sits down, just like plops down. And if you've ever been to India, that happens all the time. If you leave the door open, a dog will walk in.
Mm.
And so the people who have the office start trying to shoo the dog out, and the dog wasn't moving. And then they could see, oh wait, this dog is sick. And they then collapsed around the dog and started caring for it. And it did have
Mm.
some injury, and they fixed the dog's injury, and the dog got up. The dog knew exactly where it needed to be, and got the dog got the care it needed. Um, there's another video of a dolphin beached itself on a very busy beach in Brazil. And this is like, I'm trying to have fun here, etc. But as soon as the dolphin beached itself, people collapsed around the dolphin, providing care for this being. Some were carrying water and throwing it on the dolphin. Some were, I mean, dolphins are pretty darn heavy. So they're trying to pick the dolphin up to take it back in the water. They eventually get the dolphin back in the water, and all of the humans start cheering. Like, you know, there's something very vital about what we just did. And I think that we are going to have lots and lots of experiences where we are going to be able to exercise our holonic consciousness more than our humanity. We can't say that dolphin is human, but there have been lots of times when the exact opposite has happened. A swimmer gets in trouble, and the dolphins can just feel them, and they just get together and start pushing that human back to shore, making sure they keep their head above the waterline, um, maybe even letting the human rest on the dolphin's non-shoulder, uh, the anatomical equivalent of a shoulder, um, and um, and everybody. Oh, and this one, I think it's in the goodie box. And if it's not, I'm gonna get it in the goodie box. Um, we may have to make our own goodie box. Um, but this is a cross um, species rescue where dolphins interrupt this boat. I mean, like the boat's going somewhere and a boat gets circled by dolphins. One of the dolphins jumps into the boat,
Mm.
and folks are like, oh, I guess you're trying to get our attention. And so they start following the dolphins. They follow the dolphins out for a while, and they come to um, a whale. Okay, so dolphins are getting the attention of humans. They come to a whale, and the whale is weighed down with these abandoned fishing nets. And they can't, the whale's on its last non-leg. I mean, it's being weighed down. It has to surface to breathe, but it's barely able to do that anymore. And so the humans immediately go into rescue mode. Um, and once we again, so they've never done anything like this. Is not a group of people who are out there to rescue whales. They've never done anything like this before. So they're cutting at the ropes. They're the rope is wrapped around the whale in such a way that when they cut the majority of it, the whale can breathe. But they've got to cut all of it. And if the whale tries to get away too quickly, it can buck back on the humans and hurt them. So they're doing this as fast as they can, but they're also trying to tell the whale, hold still, you know. And finally, um, they get the whale um, freed from all the ropes. And the whale, to show its gratitude, breaches about 30 times in a row. Just, you know. And that fed the humans.
Yeah.
It also fed me. So when I put this in the goodie box or the mini goodie box, um, that's going to feed you. And this thing that we're calling holonic consciousness gets stronger. And so this is the so um 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this is just going to be ordinary and everyday. Um, and um, some crows just led me to some clean water, and I said, "Thank you." Okay, yeah, big deal. Like, yeah, crows did that with me too. Like let's see this in perspective. Um, God is love. Yes, God, if God is a living organism, we are cells that contribute to God's being. Yes. And how in the world can we put poisons in our own food in
Right.
order to make 5 cents per acre more? Okay. Um, you may or may not know this. We know about the Dust Bowl, and if you don't know about the Dust Bowl, get the Ken Burns documentary on the Dust Bowl. I'll see if I can get that through my nefarious sources and put the whole thing in the goodie box. Burns Dust Bowl. An amazing. How did anybody see that already? That's something we may want to do, put into a movie night. That's pretty heavy duty stuff. Um, and but the Dust Bowl was created by bad farming practices.
Mhm.
So the government started projecting good farming practices. Farmers didn't go for it because they would have to use their land for contouring, and you don't, and that's not productive land, etc. So they mandated it. You got to do it this way, or you get punished. We're going to punish you into doing this. So people started doing the contour planting, started doing water conservation, crop rotation, etc. Land pops right back. It literally
Mhm.
comes right back. And they said, okay, the land's back. We did it. We don't need these controls anymore. And they went right back to the stuff that killed the land in the first place.
Ugh.
Okay, I mean, literally right back because they said I can make 5 cents more per acre. Now, so what they had to do is put them right back in place, put all the controls right back in place, and they're still there. Okay. Now, it would be nice for us to come to understand the right thing to do, that we don't, that you work harmonically and holonically with all of the other aspects of nature. But when you're not smart enough to do that, then we're going to say, yeah, you can't do that, and we will also have enough um, stick to go along with our carrots. Um, I,
There's also a movie called The Real Dirt on Farmer John. I don't know if you've ever
yeah,
seen
uh,
that. And it's kind of a semi-documentary about a man that inherits land somewhere in the Midwest from the family, and it used to be like 180 acres, a large farm, and they started doing modern farming methods, and the productivity went down, 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 down.
mhm,
And he didn't even want to be a farmer. He wanted to be an artist, you know. He ends up with the land, he sells some. Eventually, what he finally does is he converts it into an organic community farm. And then it starts to, that turns everything around, you know.
right.
It's very cool. You know, so
I'm wondering if I saw it, but that's something that we may want to put on our list.
it might be
Uh,
something worth it. Yeah.
I'm thinking about something I ran into when I was in Bali. And again, I've talked at our meditation group about this, but this is for a group that's larger than a meditation group, so I'm going to say it again. When I was in Bali, I was near, I was, well, I think I was at a beautiful place. It's hard to not to be at a place that's not beautiful in Bali. Okay.
Mhm.
I'd like to be near rice fields. If you've never seen growing rice, you've really missed something. There's
Mhm.
something, I don't know what to call it. It's beyond spiritual. It's something internally moving when you see rice growing. It is green at a level that, okay, so go see some rice. Um, but where I was staying, there was like this wall of jungle, um, trees, forest, shrubs, etc. And it formed a wall in the back of where I was staying. And when I went up to this wall, I could look through it, and this was an amazing valley. And this valley was really wide, and then you could see the terraces on the other side, the rice terraces on the other side, incredibly beautiful through this wall. So this is an Airbnb, and so when I talked to my friend slash landlady slash um, cook slash, I said, it's really beautiful right there. It's like you should take out those trees there and let us see across to this valley. And everything I said, she smiled. And I'm thinking she's saying to herself, what a Westerner. And she said, yes, I could probably make more money. I could probably raise the value of the farm of the rice paddy and the Airbnb stay by a few dollars by doing that. And we take the risk of losing the entire thing in erosion. And
Mhm.
we're not going to do that. It's it's not, the money isn't worth it. It's
Mhm.
amazing when you actually say that out loud. Okay. And the first time I said that was when I was trying to tell someone why I don't do work with the federal government. And that's what came out. It's like you make tons and tons of money and it steals your soul. It's soul deadening. And uh, the person who said that most recently was Elon Musk of all people. Of He's saying, why are all these regulations in place? Why don't you just do your work? Why do you have to mandate this and say that, and then you got to check off on this, and oh, this whole group of people over here, they need to check off on all the stuff that's already been checked off. Um, and the answer is we believe in bureaucracy as opposed to the internal kindness and goodness and generosity of other beings, including and especially other humans. I don't trust them at all, so they got assigned everything. Okay. And Jen was talking about when we were talking about beings supporting and protecting other beings. She said there are instances of dolphins protecting humans from sharks. I don't know about protecting sharks from humans, but yes, that's true. But dolphins really don't like sharks um, to the point that they will go out of their way to kill sharks. In fact, they seem to be the only beings that kill other beings for fun. Um, Dolphins kill sharks not because they're threatened. They go way out of their way, out of their territorial way. If they see a group of sharks, they're going to just kill them. And of course, they don't eat them. So it's like, okay, you're dead now. Um, and I would like to think, I don't know this, I'd like to think that holonically, the number of sharks in the world need to be reduced, and the element, the factor that does the reduction would be holonically aware dolphins. But I don't know that to be true. They could just be having this could be um, a dolphin equivalent of a roundup and a shootout. Um, you never know. Um, um, oh, one more thing to say, and again, I think I said this at the Catalyst Meditation group, and I'm going to say it again. Um, and that was mistaking the intentions of other beings. And I just said that this morning because um, there's a group of crows that meets in front of my apartment every day, right around the time of our meditation. And it's only here, it's on the ground for 5 minutes. It's not feeding. It's not, I don't know what it's doing there. They come, they land, they stand there, they fly around on 14th Avenue a bit, and then they fly away. 5 minutes, and you can set your clock by them. And today they had visitors, and the visitors were seagulls. And there was, okay, my first thought was there was this battle between the crows on the land and the seagulls coming out of the air. And so the crows are doing their crow thing, they're cawing at each other. And then the seagulls come in with that high piercing voice that they've got. And there's this aerial thing going on between the crows and the seagulls. And I'm on the side of the crows. Okay. I mean, like I've been with these crows for the past how many months have I been saying that these crows are landing right when we're meditating? Uh, and so yeah, I need to get my seagull spray out. Um, um, like they sell really big cans of Raid for seagulls.
Well, could it be they were just playing with each other?
So as Angie just said, I had to do an adjustment because it could have been that the seagulls were being welcomed by the crows. It could have been that they are being uh, playing aerial playing with each other. Um, when I see two goats going head to head, bang, it's really easy to say they're fighting each other. You know, it's and what we're taught by scientists. Oh, we've tagged these beings and we've sprayed them and we've measured them, etc. And this is territorial dominance or mating rituals or both. And it might not be they could be, we really like button heads with each other.
They just like to do that,
This is the NFL of Rams and goats, okay? Um, and when these two go boom, then the other one say, "Oh, good, 7.5." That was a really good hit there. Or they have other goats with striped fleece on, saying, blowing a whistle saying, oh, foul, 5 yards. We don't know. When we stand in the space of we don't know, we can then start to see the process clearer than when we go in and say, oh, this is territorial dominance or this is mating ritual. Um, I got to remember there's other folks on the call here. Um, um, uh, and so I'll put in our mini goodie box the murmuration I showed a couple of days ago. And the murmuration was in China. Huge murmuration. I'd say there's 1 million birds or more in this murmuration. And there's an overview that says, oh, this is in China, and this is a murmuration. And these birds are doing this for food and for mating rituals. Okay. And I'm yelling at the video because I'm saying you have no idea why they're doing this. They're making beauty. And how do you can say, oh, they're doing this to prepare for a long flight. How will be taking up all their energy, flying in circles and swirls, etc., not ever running into each other? How does that, prepare them for flight or prepare them for whatever? It's one of I think the biggest faults of breaker science is to say, we know what's going on. I really, really like it when they say, we think we know what's going on, but we don't really know. Or one of the reasons why they could be doing this is this reason, but there could be 5 or 6 other reasons. Let's chill out and look at what's going on. When we chill out and look at what's going on, there's so much more that we could see going on. Okay, we're ready to, I think we're ready. I'm ready to wrap up. Let me own my energy here. I'm going to design a new goodie box. If I put things in the official goodie box, I have to say that with a deeper voice, the meta goodie box. uh, I'll I'll make sure that the companion link gets into our goodie box. I will send to all of us who have signed on the chart that I just went through. And I would like you to, I'll put it so that you can comment, I can do that. Because it obviously needs to come up to date. I looked and saw that it has a copyright on it of 2012. So this thing is 14 years old. So it can get spiffied up a bit. Thank you. I thought this went really well. I know it's when things go well when I hang up and I have more energy than when I left. I look forward to next week for this. And next week is we will start looking at this from the point of deep identity. And there's a lot of stuff to see there. So be ready to buckle up and get in it. And I look forward to seeing some of us, and maybe even most of us, tomorrow morning, bright and early. So look forward to it. Thank you for connecting in this way. We'll talk to you at another point in time. Yep. Bye. So thank you for participating here. Thank you for listening, first of all. Thank you for giving us a thumbs up, giving us the hit the subscribe button, and also make a comment. I hate saying all that stuff because that's what everybody doing a YouTube video says. But I want to say that because that's how other people find out about this work. The more you give thumbs up on this, the more you hit the subscribe button, and when you make comments, YouTube puts this higher up on its list of videos to promote to others. So if this doing that doesn't cost you a thing, but it also it helps us move this forward and helps us spread the word. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for considering signing up for the series. Your participation, even though it may be on a delayed basis, if you are doing it by a video, if you're not in the time zone, um, it will help all of us to see that there are a lot of people who are interested in this, and there are a lot of people who want to move forward on this. If you have any questions, you can do one of two different things. You can ask the question right here on the comment section on the video. I will try to get to all the comments, even if I don't leave a comment on your comment. I will be reading it. If you actually ask a question, I'll answer the question on the comment. If though your question is more personal, you can send it to mail@commonway.org, and I will get back to you. Once again, thank you, and I look forward to your participation. Thanks a lot. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Bye.